All right, from Eye on Politics, now we shift gears and talk about transformative leaders. And today, owing to the rains that have been pounding the country, we want to look at the role of leadership in all this. Because in times of crisis, people look up to their leaders for direction and also vision. So we are going to talk about the role of a leadership, especially in times of crisis. And to help me in this conversation is none other than Peter Njeru, who is the CEO of Tuangaze Limited. Karibu sana to the program.
Thank you, my brother.
How are you doing this morning?
We're doing well.
Yes.
It's a chilly morning. It's been raining overnight.
Yeah.
But we thank God for the rain.
Yes.
Also want to observe that there has been some disasters because of the rain that's been pounding.
Yeah.
And also my message of goodwill to every family that has been affected by the heavy rains.
Yeah.
And request that all of us try to keep safe.
When you talk about leadership, first of all, I would want to know or get to know your perspective on leadership generally.
Thank you. Basically speaking about leadership, we are simply talking about influence. Leadership is all about influencing people from being able to move from where they are and go to where they ought to be. And therefore, there is no better understanding of the term leadership than the simple aspect of knowing that if you're a person of influence, wherever you are, whether at home, whether in college, whether at any office, you don't even need to have a big title. Yeah. Wherever you are, if you're a person of influence, you are a leader.
Now, in times like this, where does the role of leadership coming now and help to lead people, give them hope?
Just like we've just defined leadership in a simple term, the role of leadership right now in the current situation, the crisis the country and the world is in, is to influence people to be able to respond effectively to the crisis that there is. We don't have much time to come with strategies and structures and systems, but we can quickly define approaches and actions that are able to mitigate the negative effect of floods. These would include like telling people, don't cross that river if you don't have to. That's providing leadership. Telling people, if you are in low areas, move to high areas so that you are safe. And as you influence people to take the right decision and action, you are providing leadership. The other thing we can do at our level as ordinary citizens is also to increase awareness. That you see where you stay, there's a high likelihood of landslides and all that. There is high likelihood of floods. Encourage your neighbors and friends to be able to move to higher areas so that they are safe. The moment you do that and people respond positively to your guidance, then you are showcasing cutting-edge leadership capability. Yes. The other thing, we can look at it from the perspective of now the so-called leaders. What the government is supposed to be doing at this moment in time, what the local administration, the county government are supposed to be doing at this point in time. And these things would range from localized interventions to what you can call national or global interventions. One of them is providing equipment for evacuation when people are marooned by these floods, provide evacuation services. The other one is getting shelter for the people whose homes have been swept away or are currently marooned by water. The other thing is make sure those people whose food have been destroyed by this flood and this rain don't go hungry. Provide relief to them. Some have no clothing, provide clothing for them. some are sick, provide medical services for them. So at this point in time, we are talking about reacting, not proacting. And therefore, we need to see that reactive nature, reactive approaches by our leaders being able to be brought to where they are needed most.
Is it the aspect of adapting to the situation?
Of course, all what you've discussed is adaptive approaches, because we cannot say we are planning on a response that is being predicted to come several weeks, several months, several years to come. Now in a crisis. So we are actually discussing reactive strategies to be able to mitigate upon the negative effect of these setbacks.
Does it also mean that there are characteristics that leaders need to have to help them manage this situation? Or is it a case of this situation requires this style of leadership? Is it a case of one fits all, or there are characteristics that one needs to adapt?
That's a very good question. And I would like our viewer to know that there is no one single leadership style that is one size fitting all.
Yes.
And there is no one leader who has succeeded since historic times by using one single leadership style. Different situations will call for different leadership styles. If it's a crisis like this, there's no time to meet in the boardrooms and to discuss and seek views and get public participation. You just need to order that chopper to go to a place where people are almost being swept away by friends and get evacuated. No time to negotiate. There are times when it is necessary to negotiate, to meet and negotiate. And like the leadership style I've just described is autocratic. You just give instructions and you expect nothing but compliance. There's democratic leadership style that has its own place. We want to do farming, and the land we have to do a farming on will be purchased somewhere. We have to meet, discuss. Where is the best place to look for land to farm? Do we buy? Do we lease? What crop will we grow? It's commercial farming. Where is the market? You see, you need democracy, democratic type of leadership, where you seek views from all the team members, and then at the end of it, you come up with the most powerful decision, the one that is most popular amongst yourself in view of the objective. That's democratic leadership. There is a leadership that is laissez-faire, where probably your team of leaders are experts. You don't need to micromanage them. You just give them the mandate.
You've called it?
Laissez-faire.
That's French, or?
Yeah, it draws from a French name.
Yes.
But basically what it's all about, it is that your team are experts. They are good. You don't have to micromanage them. You just give them work, give them the resources, and allow them to execute the mandate easily. Though some people say it's a lazy man's leadership or management style, but in effect it is not. If you have doctors who are specialists, do you have to go to the theater to see what they are doing?
That's like micromanaging.
You don't have to. They just need a well-equipped theater and a patient, and they'll do their work.
Yeah.
So if you're the MD of a hospital, you don't have to really scrutinize what your specialists are doing in the theater. You just have to know, I have a specialist in this area, patients are there, he's doing the right things. And that management style has its own place. But if you have a small kiosk that sells a crate of bread every day, and then you employ someone and leave him there to manage it on its own, most likely it will collapse. Right? So every leadership style has its own setbacks and advantages. You just need to know. What is the task ahead, what is your human resource capacity as a team leader, and therefore you decide which leadership style is going to be best for this kind of a task, for this kind of a team. There is a leadership style that is autocratic, I talked about it, democratic, we've talked about it. There is a one that is also transformational, whereby you want to empower people. You want to challenge them to be able to go an extra mile, do things that they thought they cannot do, but deep within you, you knew that with empowerment, they are able to rise up to that occasion.
Yes.
That's transformative leadership. From where I come from, my brother, we propagate an ideology of leadership where we say, lead where you are. Lead where you are. This is a ministry that's called Equip Ministry, led by International Christian Ministries here in Kenya. Our chairman is Reverend Dr. Stephen Mairori.
Yeah.
And this ministry has trained, our ideology is to train thousands to train millions. So what we aspire to is to make every single person believe that at their own sphere of influence,
Yes.
they can be able, they are leaders. And we say that if you're a student, you can lead in that school without being a class prefect.
Yeah.
Without being the head boy, without being the dorm captain. You can provide leadership so long as you can influence the small group of young people around you.
Is it also, from what you've said, a case of inculcating self-confidence in terms of leadership?
The ideology or the area of leadership is not isolated to certain individuals. There are also myths around leadership that probably we can look at given time. We believe that leadership is a character of man.
Yes.
Leadership is a character of man, in the sense that every man, and in this case, man is a multi-gender name. When we speak about man, we're just not just referring to male.
Yeah.
We are referring to both male and female. Leadership being a character of man, it means that every living soul is a leader in his or her own right. All what you need to do is to exercise influence in your area or in your sphere of operations. I was talking about when you are in school. Even at home, if you have a house girl, she can provide cutting-edge leadership within that family by executing the mandate that she's been given within that place without waiting for more instructions and more instructions. She can see this equipment needs to be fixed. And then instead of waiting for the homeowner to come and realize this one broke down, activate a button that will cause fixing of that problem. That is leadership. You have talked to your employer that hii pasi iko na shinda. Then peleka kwa fundi, ipelekwa kwa fundi. Then you've shown leadership. You don't have to wait. Bona nguo sijapigwa pasi ndio useme pasi imeharibika. Then you are not leading. Leading is something requires to be fixed. You're at a place where you can give advice, where you can fix it. You be on the forefront to make sure that has been done.
In other words, is taking initiative.
Yes.
What about the approach of coming back to what is happening around the country? What about the aspect of the right man at the right place at the right time as a leader to achieve the right results?
Having looked at leadership being a character of man, it is important to appreciate the reality that different people are empowered differently. Talk about talent. And therefore, in terms of the question you ask, lingers more on the area of human resource management rather than leadership. When we talk about human resource management, we also want to understand the different gifting capabilities and talents of different people and want to have the right people in the right positions. That's deployment. And therefore, even as we are leaders, we will be more effective in certain areas than in others. And therefore, as we talk about human resource management, we need to have the right people in the right jobs. And sometimes that causes challenges because when you have the wrong person in the right in the right position, it means that wrong person may not be able to execute the mandate that he has been given effectively. It does not mean he's not a leader, but his capability and the role has been, there's a mismatch. And so when we have the wrong people in the right positions, you don't blame the wrong people, you blame the appointing authority. Because that is where now gifting needs to come to play, professionalism come to place. Yes.
There's a Chinese proverb that goes, crisis creates opportunities. But then again, as a leader, you need to discern where these opportunities are. Maybe, is there a way that even in crisis, during times of crisis, a leader can identify opportunities that will lead to creating a resilient community after a crisis or a disaster?
You've talked about a Chinese proverb. I'll speak about an English saying that goes, problem is the mother of invention. The underlying wave in those two sayings is the same.
Yes.
And it can't be said better or observed better than what happens in our city here in Nairobi. Every time you see rain from nowhere, you see a lot of hawkers with umbrellas. And they use that crisis, if we can call the rain a crisis, they use that crisis to make a kill out of it.
Yes.
So from the crisis, they become instant entrepreneurs. People who are broke have cash in their pocket. And through that crisis, they are able to feed their family. So they have been able to discover, to invent a creative way to earn a livelihood through that problem. Even today, with the floods that are everywhere, we have people who have become experts in swimming and evacuating people who are marooned in those floods. And these people, after they have saved you, they're asking for a compensation. So even there's also a saying that goes, every cloud has a silver lining. And therefore, we can identify creative ways to take advantage of the current situation so that we can, as the challenge ends, we can be better people. For example, the water that is now washing away the topsoil, the water that is going all the way to Indian Ocean, we can have reserve, yes, and those creative county governments had already done that. I am aware the county that I come from, Embu, have done, preceding these floods, they had done some dams, and they are holding some waters right now, though the dams are already full now. That water will be very valuable to the communities around them during the dry spell. And therefore, it is always important in every situation, leadership to always invent creative ways to take advantage of those challenges so that at the end of challenges, they can emerge better and more able to take advantage of the resources available and invest them in a more sustainable way.
Still on that, what about the aspect of changing mindset? Because when we are talking about transformative leaders, even in times of crisis, the aspect of changing mindset henceforth comes into the fore. How about that aspect of changing mindsets?
We are a product of our history. And it has taken years for our mindset to be framed and fashioned in the way it is. And therefore, the journey to changing mindset is what we are in at Equip Ministry. And it's a patient journey.
Yes.
Patient in the sense that today, you don't just give one statement to a 70-year-old who has known this is the way of life. And you give one statement and it says, this is not the way of life. It requires capacity building, empowerment, education, patience, and that walking the journey patiently. Yes. And eventually, we know it will bear fruit. It is already bearing fruit. Yes. But the journey, I insist and I encourage that attitude change, that's what we call change of mindset. Attitude change is supposed and is a patient journey that will be achieved slowly, with consistency and with persistence. Yes.
Let's finish with this. What lessons do leaders need to learn from all this crisis that we are in right now?
There's a lot we can learn. That the temporary gain we have today in the long term could be a long-term challenge. I say this having observed what is happening in our city, the issue of lands. Majority of people, and I have found it not once, not twice, is that we try to put blame on the county government, and especially the current administration, because of the floods, and blame about preparedness. But we are turning a blind eye on the greed of those that were preceding those that are in the office now. We sold every single public space. We grabbed every riparian land in the city. Those riparian lands today have been replaced by malls, homes, and parking lots. Remember, several years back, those areas were waterways. And public spaces and other areas were areas of percolation. Today, when the first drop of rain touches the ground, it does not sink, does not percolate. It hangs on cabros, it hangs on roofs, it hangs on tarmac. And if that rain drops consistently for 10 minutes, you see flood building up. Because even when there is a dry spell, that heat is on cabros, roofs, tarmac, concrete pans, and everything else. The city is that way now. These areas 10, 15, 30 years ago were empty spaces, grass and trees. And rain would fall on these surfaces, it would sink. Probably the first 1,000 liters would sink. And today, that 1,000 liter is just lying somewhere. And the little space there is for runoff, I can tell you that flood will wash away vehicles, it will wash away homes, it will wash away people, it will be devastating. And therefore, the current county administration in this city took office when all these mistakes were done. Look at drainage. The pipes we have underneath were buried there, or those systems were constructed immediately after independence, some before independence. They are so small. Today we have high-rise buildings all over. And the water being collected from all this is supposed to squeeze in those small pipes, drainage pipes. It's an impossibility. And therefore, what we are having now is a net effect of a consistent wrong actions from previous administrations, but the current administration we have may not be blamed. We can only blame them for not coming now with a sustainable future plan to make sure that we mitigate upon the negative effects of the current challenges. One of these things is a bitter pill, in my view, because the current county administration should be able to reclaim every riparian inch of land that has been grabbed, be able to make the legal framework to reclaim those spaces. If there are public spaces that has been transferred to malls, come up with a legal framework to reclaim those spaces so that at the end of the day, we are able to get proper drainage system, be able to get sustainable development, and be able to have a city we can be proud of.
Asante sana. Thank you for making time to come on Good Morning Kenya and share your views on matters leadership when it comes, especially during times of crisis. We hope to host you again. That was Peter Njeru, who is the CEO of Tuangaze Limited. This is where we cap matters transformative leaders. My name is Mike Migwi. Don't go too far. Vivian will be back with more. Good morning.